Equipment Armory online. You now have access to explosives and armor upgrades.
Survival is a game mode slapped on the back end of Modern Warfare 3 like a scab the developers were embarrassed of. It's in a submenu of a submenu, so I really would not be surprised if many players never even realized that it was in the game. As you might expect from something completely hidden away, it's the best part of the game by far, and is still the reason I think Modern Warfare 3 is my favorite Call of Duty game over a decade later.
I hear people screaming in a foreign language, and I have to locate them so I can put a bullet in their skull.
The reason this video has a 2011 in the title is because, well, I suspect in about 2025 or so, we'll have a new Modern Warfare 3. It'll probably heavily include survival as part of the marketing to bait fans too. Before we talk about 2011's go at survival though, I have to talk about the PC port. To put it bluntly, it's not very good. Modern Warfare 3 was released firmly in that era where most game publishers thought PC gaming was about to go the way of the 2008 housing market, and so they put about 3.5 minutes into the PC port. I'm playing this on a 4K monitor, and while I'm not sure this will show up on YouTube, it looks like I'm playing the game through a 2009 YouTube video. It kinda looks like this. Using flawless widescreen fixes things up even if they use a Battlefield 3 screenshot. But make sure you actually set it up properly or the results might look, pretty unappealing. Even with these fixes, some stuff doesn't scale properly. Like the ammo counter is now only a little bit bigger than Call of Duty's modern cultural relevancy.
If you try to turn too much when
What are you doing?
Oh, I don't know if that's right. You know, sometimes you can tell this game was made for console, you know? Like, I don't think they accounted for people having nice...
They just don't make them like this anymore.
No, we're not there yet. The reason survival was likely included as a game mode at all is because having a horde mode in every single game at the time was pretty prevalent, and presumably Infinity Ward didn't want to copy Treyarch zombies yet. The overly engineered, archaic secrets of Treyarch's games are gone, or rather, they didn't have the time to implement them, and I'm glad for it. This might be a bit off topic, and it's only really something I realized after putting footage together for this video, but this trailer actually reminds me a lot of Necrovision, which was not exactly something that I was expecting to be reminded of. Anyway, back to survival. There's a handful of new mechanics like the bounty system, equipment terminals, and no, that's it. Modern Warfare 3 had a development time of just under 2 years, which is pretty common for the franchise. With as rushed as development no doubt was, it's kind of astonishing survival was even in the game at all. I mean, this is in the game. Do you really think this was part of the developer's vision?
I've got a new firing angle. Hold still.
It was likely included as a passion project by one or a handful of devs, which explains why it feels so shallow. This honestly might have been good for the mode's longevity, and I know that sounds weird, let me explain what I mean. Black Ops' Zombies mode had become a big selling point and had a lot of budget poured into it, 4 DLCs worth in fact. A lot of them together is the price of the entire game, and a lot more now that the game has dropped in price. But if you launch the base game with the intention of playing zombies, you're greeted with an absolute pittance of 2 real maps. How generous you are, Treyarch. Modern Warfare 3 on the other hand didn't have a huge marketing push associated with survival, and it's largely included as a bit of a curiosity. All of the maps available are just repurposed multiplayer maps, and so you get access to the entire base game's roster of maps coming up to 16 in total. Unfortunately, it plays pretty much identically on all 16, and there's not really much gameplay variety to be had. It's really not hard to find decent places to hold out because maps are filled with dead ends, cause Call of Duty map design is pretty antiquated and, bad. Every map is like this. It's odd that this is such a glaring issue too, because the devs were clearly aware of it. This house in Mission is boarded up unlike its multiplayer counterpart, except the doorway that isn't boarded up works just fine. There are plenty of similar spots which aren't boarded up too, like this section on Fallen. As far as I know, this staircase is the only unique spot to be changed for survival. It makes the barring up of this one location all the more confusing because there's literally no other examples of it. All of the 16 maps are completely arbitrarily split into 4 groups of 4, from easy to quote, insane. Yeah, I ain't feeling it. Weirdly, the quality of hiding places actually gets better the higher up in map difficulty you go. There's decent spots on every map, but all of the, quote, insane. Difficulty maps have one spot that's just clearly broken. Arcaden has a god spot, Downturn has this bus, Lockdown has this room with only one entrance, and Bakara has this house with also only one entrance, except for when enemies magically ascend a floor. Which unit of clones they send at you varies from wave to wave. It starts with 1886 shotgunners and ends with FAD wielding fear replicants. There's no more enemy variety past Fatel's finest, which is an absolutely bizarre design choice. It means that after a while there's no more interesting additions. You could at least have all of the other enemy types as well as the new ones. Well, sorry, I am lying a little bit. There's a grand total of 6 unique enemies. That sounds like a decent amount on paper, but 4 of them behave in pretty much the exact same way as normal enemies. This leaves 2 unique enemies in the helicopter and the dog. Everyone else runs at you blindly while spraying wildly. As far as I can tell, the only differences between these maps' difficulty brackets is not in damage numbers, currency gain, quantity of enemies, no. It's in how many enemy tiers you skip, and how often Juggernaut waves come. The differences between the difficulties are so minimal that going over it in any more detail is totally pointless. So I'll admit, this probably sounds kind of awful so far. It's an extremely shallow horde shooter. What's the appeal? Well, you can bring a friend.
This is what we're doing today.
The good news is that pretty much nothing changes between solo and co-op play. And the bad news is that pretty much nothing changes between solo and co-op play. Enemies get somewhere around double the health to make up for the second pair of firearms gunning them down, and that's it. With 2 players, both of you can call in your own personal Delta squads. Tragically, they're all completely useless.
I'm fine.
Damn.
Can't say the same for some of these guys, but...
None of the AI squads know how to sit still, and they have to be moving to cover constantly. That's right, in the survival mode where you're meant to be sitting still, they don't know how to. The Riot Shield squad takes us in the opposite direction and is so immobile that they're also useless. If you can mystically manage to get them all in the same place though, it is fun to watch them, almost like a news team.
We lost another one.
Oh,
We've still got Felipe.
LeBlanc, Chalou, Talion, and Felipe.
I can't believe we lost LeBlanc in that last engagement.
All of the sentry turrets you can buy are largely worthless too. The normal variant sentry guns are really slow, bad at identifying enemies, and do no damage. The grenade launcher variant is prone to killing you on accident. Both of them work best in a large open environment with no blind spots or avenues for flanking. This is the only spot I can think of that fits this criteria in the entire game. Fortunately, your friend is, most likely, a little bit more competent than these ones. Co-op is likely the main reason this mode is still worth talking about, if even only a little. Saying it's fun with friends is kind of obvious, but it is true for a reason. I really thought I'd have more to say on co-op. It's not complicated though. Playing with friends is fun, and it lets you properly appreciate how shitty of a game Modern Warfare 3 is. To conclude, I want to touch on what I've dubbed the excessive ballistics bug. Because Call of Duty's engine is about as solid as Crimson 1's ego, you can equip every single gun in the game at the same time. You can pick up a sentry already placed while equipping one from your inventory. This sounds harmless, but if you place the one you picked up and then put the other one away, this makes a weapon slot. Somehow, and it can be done an infinite number of times. Both co-op players can do this, by the way, and you can have 10 LMGs between you. This means that your total weapon slots are capable of going from 4 to just under 100 when both of your inventories are put together. I wouldn't exactly recommend it though, as it's just a hassle, and you really only want to use the LMGs anyway. There is a remarkable amount of weapon redundancy, and most are absolutely terrible. Only a Kami's deagle should take 3 or more shots to kill. Unfortunately, this also extends to the revolver. Oh, or not. Huh, must be Shepard's revolver. That being said, this is the only game I can think of where you can use an MK14 with an underbarrel grenade launcher. Just a shame that it sucks. Pretty much all of the rifles are the exact same as each other, and the LMGs do comparable damage with the largest mag sizes, so there's no real reason not to use them. To really hammer this point home about the lack of viable weapon variety, let me show you some clips from when I was making this video. Let me know if you can find any similarities between them. Alright, so that about wraps things up. Oh, god damn it.